Okay, we got Jen Gomez. Parents, it is okay that our pediatrician's offices are doing this. My son was 12 and I don't agree. Hey man, I guess we gotta see what type of stuff these doctors are doing to these kids nowadays, man. I'm interested to see. Y'all go, check out our content if y'all like this video.
Dragged for saying this or not. Maybe I don't know if I'm about to be dragged for saying this or not. Maybe it's because I was in prison for a decade and I just didn't see society evolve. But I took my son.
She do not look like she was in prison for a decade. That's crazy.
To the pediatrician. This happened and I'm highly effing offended. Okay, so my son plays sports. In order to be actively participating in the sports at school, you have to have a sports physical on file every single year. I took him to the pediatrician for this sports physical. Whenever any of us go to a doctor's visit, we all know that they do the triage. They do the blood pressure, the height, the weight, and all that right when you get there. And so when we get there, they're going to take him to do the triage like they do.
Good old sports physical, a regular thing. If you play sports growing up, you already know. If you're a young man, they gotta check out to see if you got any hernias. So they gotta feel around your area, right?
Any other time. What ended up happening was they put us in a room without doing triage. When they put us in the room, they called my son out by himself and she was like, oh, we're just going to go do the weight and the height and everything. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. They took him around the corner and I could see like the side of his chair and I could see like half of his body, but I couldn't see like the little nook that she was in where she was writing everything down. It was not a big deal, but I kind of just stuck my head out just a peek. I'm a mom and I'm nosy. I've been in prison. Like, I want to see what's going on. So I'm just standing in the doorway of the patient room and I'm like watching him. I end up seeing that after she does the blood pressure, the height, and the weight, she ends up handing him a clipboard with a piece of paper. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that's peculiar. Number one, I've already answered all the health questions, like the medical history. Number two, why would you give it to a 12-year-old kid? Like, he doesn't know his medical history. But again, like, I've already answered all that. So what the heck is that form? But I did want to help. So I thought, let me walk over there and just make sure he doesn't need my help with any of these questions. I end up walking over there. I look over his shoulder and I see that, he's checking things off and he's answering questions. And I'm like, all right, good job, babe. Like, you're answering everything on your own. You've got this.
Did you not take a second to read the questions?
Grown into a great little man, very independent and self-sufficient. It's all good. I'm going to leave it alone. I'll talk to him about what they were asking later and make sure that he understands the severity of answering these questions accurately because it has to do with health, or so I thought. So I walk away and I go back into the room. About a minute or so later, he comes back in the room with the nurse and he sits down. The nurse closes the door and she's like, the doctor will be in a minute. Before I could even utter one word, my son looks at me and says, Mom, that was the weirdest form I've ever had to fill out. Of course, now my interest is piqued and I'm like, what kind of form was it? He's like, they asked me if I was gay, straight, or bisexual. They asked me if I felt like I...
Whoa. Little bro goes to get a physical. Regular thing, right? Regular thing. Like I said, you got to play sports. You're going to get a physical. They give him a form asking him about his sexuality at 12 years old. And don't get me wrong. I think we all kind of had some type of idea of what our sexuality was. Like, you know what gay is and you know what straight is at that age, right? I'm assuming, especially nowadays, kids nowadays, they got access to way more stuff than we had. And when we were 12, that's when we... start, especially young boys, right? You're starting to get curious about certain things. So you got an idea about it. But nobody around that age has asked you that. Maybe your mom or dad, if they saw certain behaviors and they saw you, doing some same-sex activities. It's cool, whatever, right? And by the way, I have no problem with anybody's sexuality. It is what it is, right? But when it comes to the kids, man, to be honest, I don't think that the doctor should be asking that to a 12-year-old.
I was the gender that I was assigned to at birth. They asked me if I ever felt like I was a different gender. They asked me what gender I identify best with, how much I ate every day, how many hours I...
To me, it's almost like, I ain't going to say it's grooming, but you're right there at this point. You're right there at this point because you're putting thought processes in this child's mind that this child probably never even thought about. He probably think about Transformers and Pokemon and stuff like that.
slept, and things that I know that they ask during psych evaluations at the prison. That's where they ask you in that type of setting, like in mental health settings. Everything was kind of weird at that moment, and in my mind, I instantly got pissed the hell off. So the doctor comes in a few minutes later, and I'm like, hey,
Those definitely are jail intake questions. I'm not gonna lie.
doc, I don't know when you guys started this, but I don't appreciate you guys giving a 12-year-old that form, particularly my 12-year-old, when you don't know if that subject matter has been even discussed in our household. You don't know if he knows what these words and terms mean. For the record, he does. I mean, I think most 12-year-olds probably do, but that's besides the point. They don't know that. You don't know if now I'm going to have a conversation with my child discussing why he's being asked this, what the relevance is to his life, and explaining things that he may not have previously known and I didn't want to discuss just yet because I didn't think it was age appropriate. You can't make that generalization, because the reality is that 12-year-olds, most of them, they're not engaging in sexual behavior, and everything they hear is just from social media. They don't even know a lot of the time at that age.
Exactly. Everything they hear is from social media, TV, and from their friends. They have no real concept of. Some of them do, and the few that do, like, me, I grew up getting into this stuff at an early age, but that was stumbling upon it. And when you stumble upon it like that, you're not taught the right things, then it messes up your mind for sure. And also around that age, when you start going to sex ed, your parents got to sign off for you to even be in the same room as everybody else. I know, like, students and kids who parents weren't cool with them learning that stuff at school, so they would have to go to a whole nother classroom while we're in there learning, sex education.
Like what actual real information is, like what is legit and what they just hear on social media and from their friends. They might not know what your birth assignment was. They might not know what transitioning is. And why would they if it hasn't been something that's come up in their household before? And you wouldn't know that because you didn't bother to ask. So at the very least, I would have appreciated if you would have brought that to me, said, hey mom, scan this real quick. If you're okay with us giving it to your child, then we would like to, and that would have been fine. But you didn't. You did it in a sneaky way. You put us in the room together, then you called him out by himself, and then you gave him this form, this very explicit form with very detailed, personal, invasive questions, and you didn't even bother to give me a heads up. What if we had never discussed that before and he got in the car and now all of a sudden he wanted...
Little bro filled that form out like a G too. They asked him, was he straight? He said yes. They asked him about all the other stuff. He was like, no. What is this? I don't even know what this is, so I'm gonna say no. Little bro a G for real.
To know all these things, and I was thinking that it's not age appropriate. I was going to wait till he was 14 or 15, and now you've just created a problem. Or what if you have a very impressionable and naive child, and now you actually have planted a seed to where they're going to go searching? So she's like, oh, well, we just want to be inclusive and afford the opportunity for every kid to feel comfortable. And I said, I understand inclusivity, and I understand leaving no child behind or their feelings. That's valid. But there's a difference between recognizing that a child needs to talk to somebody about something that they may not be able to talk about at home, and introducing subject matter and planting a seed about something that has never come up. And you wouldn't know what case you're dealing with because you didn't bother to ask the parent. I flipped out. I left. I'm not going back. When did they just start discarding the parent's role in this whole situation? You're going to take a 12-year-old's word on all of this stuff without even consulting the parent? What if he would have answered those questions crazy because they didn't even know what the hell was going on? And then now there's a case of, oh, the parents not wanting this or not allowing that, but we're going to still take this kid. And like, what? My mind spun out. So I just want to know what you guys think. Please don't come on here talking about I'm phobic this and phobic that. I'm not. When you take a child to go do something without the parent's knowledge or consent, it feels very sneaky and very shady, and I didn't appreciate it. Okay?
Yeah, every parent I know would have flipped out about this. I ain't gonna lie.
Like there was some kind of agenda or narrative that was underlying here, that was being pushed upon my child that I was not aware of, and I don't approve. I figured I could get some insight from the world and just see, I don't know, just put some feelers out there, before I blow a gasket and go prison on the medical staff, because that's not what I want to do. But maybe I'm overreacting and this is like the norm. I just don't feel like it is, and if it is, I don't feel like it should be. Love you guys. I will see you guys in the next one. I don't know if I'm about to be...
She said she was gonna go prison on the staff. How many prison fights y'all think she won in her decade in there? I don't know. My thoughts on it, like I said, I totally agree with her. I think it was out of line by them. Just going to get a physical. I mean, it is a very, I guess, a gender specific thing, but I mean, you're asking about his sexuality and all of that different stuff. To me, it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter. You were going to perform the physical pretty much the same way, regardless, as long as they have whatever the genitals that they look like. So I don't know, man. They weren't doing that back when I was a kid, so I don't see a reason for them to do now. It's not affecting their ability to play sports and by their answer to any of those questions. And then, like she said, it's planting seeds in their minds too. I feel like that's the biggest part of it. Let's check out some of these comments though. Mom56 says, if I am legally responsible for my child until the age of 18, I should be entitled to access everything in regard to my child. Yeah, I agree with that. He needs to know he doesn't need to fill out random forms. Yeah, facts, man. When I was a kid, I was not filling out random forms unless it was like literally mandatory required. They'll be bringing in all types of stuff to the school, and if it won't mandatory, I won't sign in it unless I was getting a benefit off it or something like that. Nurse Jessie, I don't see how these are even questions for a 12-year-old. Seems more like an agenda. Yeah, I wonder what state she's actually in. Oh, it says Florida. Of course. The liberals want parents to have no rights. Report and never go back. His agenda being pushed. Yeah, I think most people agree that this is not okay. I'm trying to. Someone said here in California, it isn't a surprise anymore. The state is taking more and more rights over your own children. Now overreacting. Your feelings are valid. I'm not co-parenting my child with the government, and they took parents' choice away. What the flip? Great that you stay present for your son. Florida is not California. You need to report the doctor. And some sour report the doctor. Yeah, it seems like everybody agrees that this was out of line. I don't know anybody that would disagree, unless you were trying to kind of push something on kids. I don't know, Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments below, though, man. Love y'all. I'm out.